The Cinematic Evolution of the Male Gaze by Jasmine Papadopoulos. Cinema teaches us how to look. From its earliest days, the camera has done more than observe. It constructs, styles, and commands attention. In 1975, film theorist Laura Mulvey named this phenomenon the male gaze, a way in which film positions women as objects of heterosexual male desire. To see this in action, we turn to a modern example, a fantasy sequence from American Beauty. It captures how the gaze constructs desire not from reality but from idealized projection. In Lost in Translation, the film opens with a lingering shot of Scarlett Johansson's backside, a quiet invitation to gaze before she has a name, a voice, or a role. These early moments reflect how the lens creates desire before it offers substance. Today, I'll explore how the male gaze has evolved through time, shaped by the eye of the camera and the values of each cinematic era. In the 1940s, overt sexuality was constrained by censorship, but desire still simmered beneath the surface. In Gilda, when Rita Hayworth peels off a single glove during her performance, the camera lingers as if she's stripping bare, scandalous for its time. In The Postman Always Rings Twice, a rolling lipstick tube on the floor becomes a symbol of suppressed tension, and the camera frames it with suspenseful intimacy, going from her legs upwards. By the 1950s, the lens had learned to seduce more overtly. Rear Window introduces Grace Kelly not with dialogue but a soft kiss and warm lighting, the camera idolizing her. She moves through the frame, turning lights on, and the camera moves with her. As she glides through the apartment, the camera seems to float and sink, heightening her elegance and grace. In Vertigo, Hitchcock crafts Madeline as a fantasy, constantly watched and rewatched from afar. The museum scene captures Scotty observing her in stillness as if she were an artwork. The camera lingers on her and she is posed to be looked at. Her unchanged appearance enforces the idea that she's not evolving, not real, but a fixed object of desire. In the 1960s, the male gaze went exotic. In Dr. No, Honey Rider emerges from the sea like a mythic Venus. The camera captures her slowly, rising from the water in a white bikini, the sunlight glinting off her skin. Her body is framed symmetrically and idealized. In Bonnie and Clyde, Bonnie's introduction is framed through a windowsill. We, like Clyde, are drawn into her world by her looks first. The camera gazes at her as she leans against a door frame, nearly nude, her body partially obscured but unmistakably centered in the frame. The scene isn't just about meeting a character, it's about displaying her. Her vulnerability, accentuated by the lack of clothing, becomes a canvas for desire rather than empowerment. The 1970s embraced female sexual liberation, but often through a male lens. In Saturday Night Fever, the camera watches a woman dancing in a white dress while John Travolta looks on. The lens shares his desire. The framing isolates her from the crowd, casting her in a soft light, while slow motion accentuates the sway of her body. In 10, Bo Derek's beach scene eroticizes her movements, as she applies lotion to her legs with the camera glued to each motion. The background fades into insignificance, and the camera closes in, lingering on the motion of her hands and the shimmer of the sun on her skin. It's a moment stretched in time, her sensuality choreographed, not for another character in the scene, but for us. By the 1980s, subtlety gave way to spectacle. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the slow-motion pool scene of the bikini-clad girl exists solely for fantasy. As she steps out of the water, the camera lingers on her body, capturing her in a way that disconnects her from the narrative and turns her into a vision of teenage desire. In Scarface, Elvira's first entrance in the Golden Elevator is a masterclass in cinematic objectification. The camera slowly ascends with her, capturing her poised stance, flowing satin dress, and cool detachment. She steps into the room like a mirage, untouchable, pristine, and composed. The golden lighting around her, softening her edges and heightening her allure. Tony doesn't just glance, he's transfixed, but so is the audience. In The Mask, Cameron Diaz is introduced with slow motion and a zoom that frames her body before her face. The camera glides upward, emphasizing her curves while soft lighting highlights her features. Her entrance pauses the scene's momentum, turning her into a spectacle. She doesn't just arrive, she's unveiled, staged for seduction before character. In Cruel Intentions, the kiss between the two girls is stylized for male fantasy, even as it pretends to be empowering. Few films embody the male gaze like Vertigo. In this scene, Scotty remakes Judy into Madeline, down to every detail. When she finally emerges, bathed in green light, the camera circles her slowly, mirroring his gaze. Capturing her transformation, not as liberation, but as possession. She is no longer Judy, but a projection. The scene perfectly visualizes Mulvey's theory. The woman becomes a spectacle, and the man controls the frame. And yet, as a viewer today, I ask myself, why didn't I question it sooner? The gaze was never invincible. I was simply taught not to see it. Advertising didn't invent the male gaze, but it mastered it. In this Carl's Jr. commercial, Kate Upton sensually eats a burger inside a car. Her lips, hair, chest, and legs are framed in slow motion, drenched in high lighting and oil. The camera isn't selling a burger, it's selling her. This is gaze without story, without character. It reduces a person to parts and desire to consumption. It turns appetite itself into something erotic, exaggerating femininity to fantasy. But how exactly is the camera implicated in this gaze? Sometimes it mimics the eyes of male characters. In Psycho, we watch Marion undress through Norman's peephole, sharing his voyeurism. In Peeping Tom, we literally become the killer's camera, seeing through his lens as he stalks women. The gaze is embedded in the very act of filmmaking. Other times, the camera has no character to justify its desire. In Transformers, it moves slowly over Michaela's body as she bends over a car. This isn't Sam's POV, it's the camera's own. In Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn changes clothes while men glance away, but the camera stays fixed on her midriff and legs. In this longer scene, we can see that even animation isn't exempt. In Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jessica's exaggerated figure is framed by swooping close-ups and sparkling spotlight. The animated camera follows her like a lover, not a lens. The gaze becomes stylized, yet unmistakably coded in desire. Through the decades, the male gaze has evolved, but never disappeared. Sometimes it seduces, sometimes it stalks. Always, it tells us who has the right to look and who exists to be looked at. The camera is never neutral. It constructs meaning, desire, and power through every frame. But films are changing. In Cleo from 5 to 7, 1962, a woman walks alone through the streets of Paris. 3 men turn to look at her, but she does not flinch, she does not pose. Instead, she catches sight of herself in a mirror, displayed in a shop window. For a moment, she truly sees herself, not through their eyes, but her own. The camera holds her gently. She does not perform, she's present. Understanding how cinema has taught us to see is the first step to reclaiming how we choose to be seen. To challenge the gaze is not just to critique film, but to reshape the way we see women in every image. Perhaps now the lens can become more than the eye. It can become a voice. Thank you for watching, and here is the bibliography.